Sorry, Mr. President. I was just asking whether or not. I mentioned that I was also happened to be here in the UK, and I've been looking at the coverage of the local press, and I wondered if you're disappointed that it's been so dominated by internal issues like of Brexit and Northern Ireland, and not so much about these big meaty issues that you brought to the table in terms of vaccines.
No, I'm not disappointed. I guess the media has to deal with whatever issue that interests them, and if it is Brexit at the moment, they obviously must deal with it. And we have had a summit that has addressed the issues that are important to us, and I would like to take it that that too will be addressed in a number of ways. And the Prime Minister led this summit rather well, and he will obviously find ways of being able to communicate the message as effectively as possible, which I'd like to believe he has been doing right pre the summit and throughout the summit. So if there is one issue about Brexit that seems to be dominating the news today, I think it can be ameliorated by what he has been doing and what he will do post the summit as well. With regard to the question you asked about J&J, I mean, we've had some challenges in relation to J&J, which has also affected us in South Africa with regard to the batches that seemed to have been contaminated. And our Aspen factory in South Africa had gone ahead to manufacture more than 2 million doses, which were supposed to be distributed, and they were ready to go on and manufacture others. So they were told to stop, which they did, and now in the end they are told that they are contaminated. So I'm told that they have to dispose of those that they have already manufactured. I spoke to the CEO of Aspen earlier, and he said, well, they are going to start all over again with another batch, and they should be able to gear up their manufacturing capacity. As you well know, we have stored a lot of our vaccination programs hope on J&J, Johnson & Johnson, because it's a one dose or one jab vaccine. So we've been waiting, but in the meantime, we've been using other vaccines, particularly Pfizer. And in my discussions with President Biden, we did say to him that we would like the doses that he's going to donate also to be channeled to Africa, also to be channeled to South Africa. And he agreed that he's going to do precisely that as soon as possible. So we should be able to get some doses from that end, and we will be able to get doses also from Europe. And we will then be able to have, as we have often said, a multi-vaccine doses type of situation. But J&J should be able to get up and going. The CEO of Aspen told me that by the middle of the week, they will be able to have started and manufactured quite a number of vaccines, which will be made available, not only for South Africa, but also for the African continent. So we are hopeful that our vaccination program will receive a great boost as we get these vaccines. Coming to Sophie Mugwena's question on President Biden's statement that they are going to be investing in infrastructure on the African continent, that should be welcomed. It should be welcomed because we're a vast continent. We're a continent of many countries that have a great deficit when it comes to infrastructure. No single partner in the world can do it alone. So we want a multi-partner type of process in investing on our continent. And we are open for business, we are open for investment on the African continent, and we welcome those who will come with good terms, of course, and the commitment from the G7 to invest in our economies and to support our economies must not be looked at negatively. Actually, it is a very positive move, and we are actually urging the G7 countries who had slowed down with their investment processes on the African continent in the main, not completely, to start gearing up, to start increasing their foreign direct investment, and indeed their assistance programs on the African continent so that we can grow our economies. So we can never say that that is a threat to China or pushing China out. We are very inclusive in our approach. We don't see the exclusion of one at the expense of another. We see an inclusion, and that's what we are on the African continent, and that's what we would like to be accepted as. On the issue of taxation, the G7 countries have come up with a proposal which has been discussed and is still going to be discussed on a taxation mechanism which we have not had time to discuss. But it's what they have discussed, and clearly they see the taxation level that they've come up with, that at least it should be 15%, and I read that to mean that that's the floor and it can be higher than that, which I'm sure will fit their own economies. And taxation is very different in various countries around the world. Some tax as much as 70% and some tax as low as 15% or so. So that needs to be looked at. And us in developing economies, obviously, we've got to take a lot of things into consideration because the revenue challenge is quite huge. Our tax base is quite narrow. And in the G7 countries, the tax base is broad, both for personal income tax and for corporate tax. So in our case, there's a misalignment, and we therefore need to look at all that, and we must have the equation balancing properly. So it is a G7 determination, and we have heard, we have listened, and we were here also to watch some of these things. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the media, this concludes our business. At this stage, I'd like to thank the President of the Republic of South Africa for your time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the media.
Oh, these are live visuals coming through from a virtual briefing taking place with President Cyril Ramaphosa, of course, at the conclusion of the G7 summit. Plenty of issues being discussed throughout the weekend. Some of the main highlights to come out of this media briefing today include President Cyril Ramaphosa highlighting the need to build capacity and capability for developing nations so that they are not at the mercy of G7 countries. This is in particular relation to vaccine production in the form of manufacturing and also licensing. Another issue that has come up includes TRIPS waiver proposals and the discussions surrounding IP of vaccines. He alluded to the harmonized standard global tax system, which is still under discussion. In a South African context, it does look like there are a lot more factors that need to be considered due to our unique context and climate. Obviously also alluding to the need for economic support and during the